dressing room. I want you to obey the commands, protect yourselves at all time. Right now, we're going to call on the letters here. We're going to call on the letters here. Tap it up. Let's go to work.
So here we go with the main event, so to speak, of our prelim broadcast. Sergiy Derevyanchenko, a former world title challenger, taking on Vaughn Alexander. 10 rounds in the super middleweight division. A division that somewhat recently Derevyanchenko said he wasn't even all the way comfortable at, but seemingly seeing, as we talked about, some of those dollar signs in the 168-pound division, some of those names that are there. Still plenty of opportunities out there for Derevyanchenko, provided he can stay in the win column here tonight.
Right.
Call them out fashion police guys. I've never seen those boots right there. Those sneakers are boots.
I think what happens is Vaughn Alexander forgot to change into his boxing sneakers. And those are the sneakers he wore to the arena, because those don't even look good for lateral movement. We're going to see him like stumbling.
I like the trunks fight. A la Floyd Mayweather.
See Alexander touching Derevyanchenko to the body there a moment ago. The question for Alexander is, can he still be as durable as we've known him to be for the vast majority of his career? A couple of fights ago, we saw him stopped by a body shot against Ian Green, and there was a point in Alexander's career where it seemed like he was impervious to body shots. He could just shell up, you could rip him to the body, he wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
Is it possible that Father Time has finally caught up with him at the age of 38?
I think Father Time stripped him a little bit of his resistance, because he definitely was a tough guy, barely ever stopped, you know. But and you're in there with a tough guy as well that hurt Triple G to the body, you know. So it's going to be a tough night for him.
You and I talked about this the other night. I don't know that anyone's had Triple G that hurt. Even Canelo,
no,
with all due respect to Canelo,
no one.
Derevyanchenko had Triple G more hurt and in more trouble than anyone else ever has.
Visibly hurt against Derevyanchenko to the body.
It was a body shot.
Yes.
We've yet to see Triple G hurt to the head. Still a little dry. Derevyanchenko hasn't broken a sweat yet.
Again, we don't know what was going on behind the curtain, but we do know there was a little bit of a delay on the ring walk, so it's possible that these two are kind of rushing to get ready and get into the ring. It could be.
I'm telling you what it is. He forgot his sneakers, and that's why he's wearing these sneakers. We'll find out later.
I mean, it's safe to say that Derevyanchenko's last hurrah here to make a statement, to have his last run in the sport.
I agree.
About 30 seconds of the opening round. Somewhat slow start from Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander, but prior to the Munguia fight, Derevyanchenko's trainer Andre Rozier was joking that he'd have a taser in his back pocket to make sure that Derevyanchenko didn't start too hot, didn't gas himself out. So perhaps that's a part of the evolution, even at this stage in his career, of Sergiy Derevyanchenko, just taking his time here in round one.
Yeah. He's pacing himself here in the main event of the prelims, what I like to call.
Definitely a main event.
Round two underway. Sergiy Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander. 10 rounds in the super middleweight division. As Derevyanchenko trying to stay in the win column and perhaps set up some potential big fights that will still be on the table for him at 168, maybe at 160. He says he still believes he can get back down there.
I believe he'd be competitive at any weight, but I believe 160 is probably best for him because of his height. You know, we're looking at two 38-year-olds, but Derevyanchenko got a lot more left in his tank compared to Vaughn Alexander.
Derevyanchenko feels like one of those guys that's been around forever, but still only has a record of 14-5. You know, all the fights he's had, they've been tough fights, but in total, there really haven't been that many of them. Maybe because his amateur record was 390-20. You can only fight so many times.
As we talked about earlier, you know, maybe not fighting so much in the amateurs, but yeah, that record doesn't reflect just his career when you think about the type of fights he's been in.
Yeah, came into the pros, you know, at a higher age, but had a long amateur career, so he stepped it up much faster than other fighters. And I think Vaughn Alexander has the style that's going to, you know, allow us to see Sergiy, you know, what he has in his tool shed.
For good reason, we think about Derevyanchenko as an all-action fighter, but again, going back to that amateur pedigree, I mean, this is a really gifted technical boxer, hence the nickname, the Technician. And one thing that his trainer, Andre Rozier, always talks about is that tight defensive circle that he keeps, where he could be in front of you, looks like you're going to war, but really he's pivoting around you. He's swimming without getting wet, so to speak.
Exactly. That little step to the side puts him out of range, off of the line.
Jacob just touching Alexander in the body again, not putting everything behind those shots quite yet, just placing those shots. So we're inside the final 30 seconds of round 2.
This is another example of having an opponent in Vaughn Alexander that allows you to work on the things you need to work on for the better opponents.
Nice counter shots there from Vaughn Alexander, though, but Derevyanchenko puts a little more mustard on those shots. So that'll do it for round 2.
Starting to see little hints of vintage Derevyanchenko here. Getting into a rhythm, and maybe you alluded to that earlier, Corey, where they want him to pace himself a little bit more.
I love the way Derevyanchenko went to the body, then right upstairs with the jab. He's good 1, 2, 3. He's been shooting the jab and left hook a lot as well. Alexander, just like his brother Devin, you know, when they were young, had one of the toughest chins in the sport.
As you mentioned, Barack Vaughn Alexander, the older brother of Devin Alexander, who actually is fighting next month in my wife's home province of Alberta. He's fighting up in Canada.
Is she promoting the fight?
No, I mean, she is a lawyer. I think she'd be qualified. Amanda, do you want to start promoting fights? If you're watching, let me know.
She better be watching.
She might not let you call him.
That's right. Round 3 underway. Sergiy Derevyanchenko looking like he's picking things up a little bit here in round 3. And Ak, I think that was a good assessment you made in the last round. It looks like the cadence that Derevyanchenko had in the opening 2 rounds, it looks like a guy who wants to get a couple of rounds. He's working on things, as you mentioned, Barack.
Are you guys seeing Derevyanchenko that is maybe showing 38 years old and maybe been in a few too many wars?
That's the other possibility in terms of what we're seeing, right? But I think it's early, and we'll see, you know, once we hit round 5, round 6, if Derevyanchenko is still looking the way that he did in round 1, I think maybe you start asking those questions.
That's a very good question. I can't be sure, but I think I'm looking at this more like how Fulgham did in his fight, you know, where he had somebody in front of him who wasn't a threat, you know, so he didn't give his all.
As we say that, Derevyanchenko is just peppering Vaughn Alexander with right hands.
Flurry of punches here.
said, I'm going to show Ock.
And Alexander says, hey, it's nothing. He's eating those.
He's used to having a good chin, you know, so he's used to walking forward and still getting hit by big shots.
And hey, don't get me wrong. I'm saying the 38-year-old version of Derevyanchenko, but that's still a dangerous fighter.
Absolutely.
See the footwork right here from Derevyanchenko, just masterful stuff.
Little nick there on his nose. Not sure if that came from a shot or a headbutt. This guy's been clinching. Nice little left hook.
Yeah, that shot got Derevyanchenko's attention. Just a little short uppercut from Vaughn Alexander. Got some excitement out of Alexander's corner a moment ago as well.
Little James Toney stance there with his hands.
You know, the pressure of Vaughn Alexander is making Derevyanchenko work a little bit more. And maybe he's thinking he could tire him out.
Maybe that's the strategy. But Derevyanchenko is strong late in fights. So that might not be the best strategy.
That's the truth.
Against a guy like Derevyanchenko.
As we tend to see in Derevyanchenko fights, that scar tissue seems to have opened up once more. As you pointed out, Ock, a little dribble of blood coming off the bridge of the nose of Derevyanchenko right now as he paws away at it, but brings the right hand over the top. And a nice shot on Vaughn Alexander.
Good spin off the ropes there. Good boxing. The Andre Rozier school of boxing.
You see Derevyanchenko taking deep breaths because he had to really work in that round. The pressure was on him. These are all pity pats, but they're effective in his scoring shots. Not landing completely flush, but like I said, they're scoring shots. Good left hook. That was a flush shot.
Round 4 begins. Sergiy Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander wrapping things up for us here on the prelim portion of tonight's broadcast. Our pay-per-view portion of the broadcast begins at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, of course concluding with our main event between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia.
Excellent jab work by Derevyanchenko. To the bottom and to the top. Peppering him with the jab.
Is that about 6 jabs in a row? By Derevyanchenko?
Maybe more. What type of performance will we need from Derevyanchenko in order for him to get maybe another big shot at another big fight?
I think for Derevyanchenko, just winning is probably enough because there are so many of those names that we brought up at 168 pounds. You know, whether it's Berlanga, whether it's Benavidez, whether it's Christian and Billy, guys, there are so many young, somewhat untested names that are looking for a guy like Derevyanchenko to bolster their resume.
Right, exactly, because he has a name. Because of his resume already, he has a name. Tough fights. Charlo was the only one that really beat him convincingly. And if they're looking at Derevyanchenko now and saying, well, maybe you're right, maybe it is, you know, 38-year-old Derevyanchenko legs, you know, so I'm going to put that name on my resume.
I like, look, Corey just mentioned Berlanga, and I know we got the Keith Conley issue here in management, but I like that fight for Berlanga. It's a good test.
Combination on the inside there from Derevyanchenko. A nice uppercut, turns the corner. A 3-punch combination again. And Derevyanchenko, for as rugged as his fights are, it's a pretty style to watch, guys. The footwork, the activity. There aren't too many fighters in the sport that can replicate this style. And that, for me, is what makes Derevyanchenko fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those 300 some odd amateur fights that you mentioned have a lot to do. That experience, and he has that type of style. I see him winning a lot of amateur fights with this style.
It almost looks like Alexander's getting stronger, you know? He's taking Derevyanchenko shots, and I think what's missing is that Derevyanchenko needs to go more to the body.
Slowing down. I wouldn't say he's getting stronger. He's more comfortable taking those shots as he's walking towards them.
Alexander's corner warning.
It's still losing.
Keep your hands up. Maybe protecting to the body a little bit. Again, we mentioned last time we saw Alexander stopped, it was a body shot from Ian Green who took him out. That was 3 fights ago. Derevyanchenko just keeps peppering him with that jab. Vaughn Alexander still there, bringing the fight, still standing right in front of him.
This is what I was talking about, Ak, the aggressiveness of Alexander in that round. Those were 2 really good shots before Derevyanchenko turned it over.
Round 5 underway. Vaughn Alexander bringing the pressure here to kick off the round. Back in 2022, he went the 10-round distance with Christian and Billy, who right now I think a lot of people regard as one of the most dangerous super middleweights in the world today. Certainly one of the most TV-friendly fighters, regardless of weight class right now. And at that point in his career, and Billy was just steamrolling through everyone, and it was a matchup against Vaughn Alexander that finally was able to give him some quality rounds against a veteran.
Right, very heavy puncher, maybe not the most skillful. I would have loved to seen him against David Benavidez. I'm surprised, Ak, you haven't said anything about the ref's shoes.
I don't particularly like those.
I think he's going bowling directly after this.
Good work by Derevyanchenko. Staying busy in the middle of the ring, spinning off from his Alexander.
This is what Derevyanchenko just continues to be so good at, just methodically chopping you down. They're short shots. They look like they're not much, but there's so many of them, and they're so constant from so many different angles.
Chipping
away, and then really cranking it up like that.
But can he maintain that?
Well, look,
can he maintain that for 5 more rounds against a guy who's showing that he can take a shot? That's why I say go to the body.
Let's think about his last 4 or 5 fights. Can he maintain that? He gets stronger as the fight goes usually.
You know, that's the second time you're right tonight. And the second time in your life.
I don't see Sergiy fading, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Beautiful shot there from Derevyanchenko, and another right hand immediately behind it.
Hands are free, workout. Hands are free.
Body shot by Alexander.
Oh, nice uppercut on the inside there from Vaughn Alexander. That one might have got Derevyanchenko's attention. It certainly excited the Alexander corner, but back comes Derevyanchenko. But Derevyanchenko just cannot be in a boring fight. He's impervious to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, look at that shot from Derevyanchenko. Sweeping left hook. And Vaughn Alexander just walks right through it.
Big reason why he's still in the mix in fighting tonight. Fan-friendly fighter. He's going to give you an entertaining fight every time.
Let's not take credit from Vaughn Alexander. It's his face that's giving us this.
He's also throwing, another uppercut.
Body shot there from Alexander, you're right. Dangerous shot from Alexander, scores right before the bell.
Pressure is on by Alexander, but Derevyanchenko came back with a beautiful combination to double straight rights, right to Alexander's chin, but he seems to take it well. That one slid off of the shoulder, Alexander, but that jab and right cross landed. And Alexander shakes his head, nope, none of these are affecting me.
I thought it was
38 years old, but Alexander's not sitting down in between rounds, even though they're taking a stool out for him.
Notoriously durable Vaughn Alexander, living up to his reputation once again. He has absorbed some shots from Sergiy Derevyanchenko, but again, every once in a while, comes back with shots like that. There was the uppercut to the body at the end of the last round, and then he opens this round with that leaping left hook.
Still dangerous in there at times. Ooh, another nice uppercut on the grazed side of Derevyanchenko's face. But not busy enough to win these rounds. And, you know, then you start to think, okay, does he want to just do enough to finish the fight? Or is he trying to win?
I mean, Derevyanchenko has admitted, in his words, everyone is big for me at 168 pounds.
Yes.
He knows that he is very undersized for this division. And again, going back to how unique Derevyanchenko's skill is, usually when you see guys that are physically undersized for a division, they're built like Derevyanchenko, they're kind of that like bob and weave, pugnacious pressure fighter. Derevyanchenko has those gritty elements, but he also has, you know, the Ukrainian schooling footwork.
Yes.
And he's dancing around guys at this weight class. But because of that size differential, he also gets touched up a little bit.
Exactly. And I'm wondering if he can, you know, let his hands go the way he's doing. He's landing a lot of shots. He's looking clean, but he's also moving, just reminds me of Triple G Canelo 1. You know, where Canelo was landing good shots, but he was moving, and by the 5th, 6th round, he was tired.
Stop holding it, Oscar. Stop holding it.
Derevyanchenko just missing over the top of that right hand.
Because now, you know, Derevyanchenko's not sitting down on his shots. You know, he's doing arm punches because he has to punch so much. All of them can't be hard.
He's made up his mind that this is a strategy, and he'll rip when he has the opportunity to. But I think, you know, Corey mentioned earlier, Alexander, every once in a blue, he'll land a big shot.
There's the rip you're talking about.
It's right there. There's that right hand.
He's doing just enough. Derevyanchenko bleeding from the nose now.
Caused by a jab by Alexander.
Hard shot again to the body from Vaughn Alexander, but just getting peppered again and again. So Derevyanchenko, and against guys who aren't as durable as Vaughn Alexander, 6 rounds of this might have them bleeding, might have them cut. Vaughn Alexander, you can't hurt this guy.
Yeah, Barack might be right. I mean,
I'm telling you, pay attention. Pay attention. This guy is walking him down. He's letting his hands go a little bit more, Alexander. And I think Derevyanchenko's finding it hard to keep him off of him.
I mean, he's still winning big.
Winning rounds.
But there are shots that are being landed by Alexander that's making you think, is this going to start breaking Derevyanchenko down in a few rounds?
Definitely winning rounds. Derevyanchenko doing his best to keep Alexander off. Beautiful double left hook by Derevyanchenko. Pushes him off, says, give me some breathing room. And Alexander comes back in his face and eats a jab. Beautiful spin work by Derevyanchenko. Just controlling the fight, controlling the ring.
Be ready to go. You okay? You ready to fight the clinch? All right.
So round 7 begins. Sergiy Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander wrapping up our prelims here as we get set for the pay-per-view portion of our broadcast, headlined by Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. And guys, as we've been talking about, I think, you know, almost all of these are fairly clear Derevyanchenko rounds, but Barack, I think your point is a good one. It's not an impossibility that Vaughn Alexander, who doesn't seem affected by any of these shots, who's moving forward, landing hard shots every once in a while, it's not an impossibility that one of these shots affects Derevyanchenko. I mean, again, he is admittedly an undersized 168, and we've seen him hurt in the past.
Right. Bloodied his nose from a jab. I did see Derevyanchenko just a few seconds ago throw a jab to the body, but then, you know, he stopped, and that's what I think he needs to do. I don't know if his corner's telling him that. Go to the body, slow him up, at least make him reset.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I don't see Sergiy slowing down in terms of the volume of punches, the way he's moving with his footwork, and we're in round 7, and still no slowdown.
Yeah, the legs most certainly seem to be there, and that's really what you worry about when it comes to a 38-year-old. His punch resistance, and do your feet look the same? And tonight, at least against Vaughn Alexander, they seem to for Derevyanchenko. Nice uppercut there from the technician.
I'd like to see him turn the hook right after that. Sergiy hasn't went much to the body to maybe slow Alexander down from moving forward. A lot of headshots. 90% of the shots that he threw are to the head. Not too much body work. Maybe we need to start thinking about going to the body.
100%. I think if Vaughn let his hands go a little bit more, he'd be very, very dangerous right now.
This combination there from Derevyanchenko, but Vaughn Alexander just yells at his face, just eats it, and talks to him.
That means nothing if you're getting hit. Derevyanchenko is ripping shots to the face of Alexander. Though he's walking through him, he's losing every round.
Oh, I mean, those 2 left hooks were flush right on the chin. He should have dropped a normal human being.
Final 20 seconds of round 7 as Derevyanchenko just uncorking those hooks.
You know, we talk about his size in this division, Corey, but maybe his power's not holding up in this division because he hasn't hurt Alexander yet.
Nice shot there from Alexander. Again, every once in a while, an eye-catching shot from Vaughn Alexander. And that'll do it for round 7.
Alexander still doesn't want to sit down. He almost didn't want to go in his corner. Good right cross by Derevyanchenko. Vaughn is on him. He ate 2 left hooks. Complaining about Derevyanchenko pushing him off. Still eating these shots, lefts and rights.
Round 8 begins. Sergiy Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander, who takes a spill there.
Didn't I tell you about those sneakers? You see him slipping? No,
I mean, it did take until round 8.
Like he's going to play baseball in this.
Vaughn Alexander, a really remarkable comeback story, coming back after spending 11 years in prison, returning after a 12-year layoff. Guys, to put it into perspective, the era in which Alexander's pro career started, he made his debut on the undercard of Corey Spinks's first defense of his unified welterweight title against Zab Judah. He also appeared on the undercard of Roy Jones, Antonio Tarver II, and Felix Trinidad, Ricardo Mayorga at Madison Square Garden. This is a man who's been around a long time.
He just took it way back.
Way back.
That's a totally different era.
Wow. He's been around. The man's been around. I have to.
So are we looking at a fresh 38? Vaughn Alexander?
Yeah, you know, he took a long break, so that's why he can endure the shots that he's receiving now from Derevyanchenko. And
that's that signature Alexander chin.
Look, whoever's doing strength and conditioning for Sergey, kudos to them. The man is still in shape at this age, round 8, from a guy who was stalking him nonstop.
I mean, whoever's doing strength and conditioning for Vaughn Alexander, I'd like to check with them too. I know he was in those tough Kevin Cunningham camps for many, many years.
Give me either guy so I can try to get a six-pack, all right?
Your best bet is just
Hard
going to
body
the
shot
supermarket.
there from Vaughn Alexander. Sorry to cut you off there, bro.
That's all right.
Look at that beautiful combination from Derevyanchenko. It's the intensity picking up here in round 8 with less than a minute left to go.
Barack, is your answer, is Derevyanchenko fading? No.
Definitely not.
Great.
But also, Alexander's not throwing shots. Like, it's been probably 30 seconds since he's thrown a shot. He's just putting his head on him.
I mean, look, we talked about it earlier, guys, and I know Alexander is throwing shots here and there, but how comfortable can a ref and a doctor be of him getting hit with that many
Down
shots?
goes Vaughn Alexander. We speculated about the body shots. And right on cue, Alexander in agony right now. Will he get back up to his feet? Alexander's corner assuring him that he's good. Derevyanchenko. A lot of time being wasted here.
That's Derevyanchenko's fault. Get in the neutral corner.
Derevyanchenko had an opportunity to maybe close the show there. A little bit too anxious.
Hey, I called it. Go to the body. Did I not say that earlier? He wasn't going to the body.
I said that. You didn't say that.
Corey, who said that? I said he wasn't. He was eating all the shots.
Look, that's the body shot right there. The left hook that I've been saying all fight. When you got a guy that's got a strong beard like that, go to the body. One shot, one left hook to the body, put him down.
All I noticed throughout the fight that he was 90% of the shots were headshots. He wasn't going to the body. I'll take a wild guess that he's going to go to the body in the next round.
Hopefully.
I gotta say, guys, if you didn't know that a knockdown happened in that round, one guy that just got knocked down to the body didn't sit down, waiting at center ring. Derevyanchenko, as he always seems to between rounds, is just in anguish, head to the sky. The head swell is out.
Breathing deeply.
Well, we'll see if Derevyanchenko can go back downstairs and maybe score a knockout here.
Okay, jabbing to the body.
Alexander just with those elbows tucked. The shell defense, but hands low, almost just inviting those headshots right now.
Right. Normally, you go to the head like Derevyanchenko just did, and it forces a fighter to put his hands up. But Alexander just eating the shot so easily. He's like, no, I'm just protecting this real estate down here.
Well, and guys, you know, looking back at it, there has been a little bit of a stylistic switch in Vaughn Alexander. Earlier in his career, it was a lot more squared up. The hands were a little bit higher, the higher guard.
Exactly.
Then, as we mentioned a couple fights ago, he gets stopped to the body. Has he maybe changed his style a little bit? He knows he can take some of these headshots. It's the body shots he does not want.
Well said.
Could very well be the case. Oh, he's been watching a little too much James Toney.
Yeah, but James Toney cares about defense. He's slipping these shots.
Yeah, that's why he's making an attempt to the style.
3, 4, 5 punch combination there from Derevyanchenko.
No answer back.
His best bet, Derevyanchenko, is to punch with Alexander, because that's the only time that body is going to be open. Draw him in and let him throw a punch, and then sneak that left hook under one more time.
Well, and that's been Alexander's approach as well. His best moments in this fight have just been waiting for that perfect opportunity to punch with Derevyanchenko, usually to the body. Derevyanchenko just trying to create a little bit of room, trying to just parry that lead hand away, create some space where maybe he can get downstairs.
Oh, beautiful
pivot.
boxing.
I mean, look, it seems to me that Sergey wants to end this fight by knockout, and he doesn't want to go the distance. He has around 30 seconds to do it. Does it happen? We'll see. Doesn't look like it the way Alexander's moving forward, unless Sergey maybe goes back to the body where he's a bit tender.
Again, it is hard to find the body right now with how Alexander's walking forward, with where his elbows are, with where his hands are. Derevyanchenko is trying to find a way to create an opening because Alexander just is not going to give it to him.
Yeah, no, he has to exchange with him, throw with him in order to sneak that in there, because you're right, his defense to the body is really good. But leaves the head open often.
I don't know how Derevyanchenko's keeping his work rate up, but that was a 5-6 6-punch combination. Pushing pushing Vaughn Alexander back.
Final round. It has been a rugged one, as you would anticipate when you put Sergey Derevyanchenko and Vaughn Alexander in the ring together. Two hard men going at it here to conclude our prelim portion of the broadcast.
You know, as I'm thinking about the moments that Alexander had in the fight, big shots, has he won a round in this fight? Because I don't see it. I can't think of a round that he's done enough to win the round.
No, maybe he'll win the 11th round, but he hasn't won these rounds. You know, I think Derevyanchenko now knows what it feels like to fight himself. You know, a guy that just keeps coming. He's just not throwing a lot of punches, and that's the only thing.
I mean, was this enough for Alexander to get another opportunity?
I think so. I think for Alexander, if he goes the distance with Derevyanchenko, who was, you know, inches away from maybe beating Jaime Munguia, obviously a well-regarded fighter, you know, obviously Vaughn Alexander comes into these fights hoping he's going to win, but plan B is he wants to get another good assignment, another good payday, and he's shown that he can still be very durable. There are younger fighters who would very much benefit from this type of fight.
Yeah, you know, it amazes me because when he is offensive, I mean, he's very effective, and had he thrown more punches, I mean, how competitive would he be with anybody?
I think a guy with a style like this and a chin like that, if he threw more punches, can probably beat some of those younger guys just by overwhelming them.
Not sure if it's a conditioning thing or not wanting to be in a line of fire for that long and risk anything, but...
On Alexander, he'll pull those upsets off once in a while. He's lost 4 of his last 5, but the one win, that was an upset win over Brian Chavez, so he will pull them out. If you get a fighter that's not prepared to work for 10 rounds, you still will not beat this guy.
Right. Not against Sergey, not tonight.
Good body shot by Vaughn Alexander.
Again on the final 30 seconds of this contest. Derevyanchenko hit Vaughn Alexander with absolutely everything. Vaughn Alexander made him work for 10 full rounds.
5-punch combination by Derevyanchenko right there in the 10th round. Wow.
And another one, a 4-punch combination. Seemingly most of those landing as well.
Wow.
5-punch.
Another 5-punch.
Truly one of the best chins in all of boxing. I don't think I'm going too far in saying that. On Alexander.
It's a safe statement.
tough competitor, in the words of Floyd Mayweather.
So Sergiy Derevyanchenko, we assume, will remain in the win column, and again, remains an interesting proposition for a lot of guys at 168, for 160 if he wants to go back down there. It's a marketable fight, and you know it's going to be an exciting fight as well.
Always a fight when Derevyanchenko is exciting. I really want to say respect to him tonight, because that was a beautiful performance, keeping this guy off of him and keeping that same work rate from the first round to the 10th.
No question about it, right?
We're going to take one more look back at this body shot knockdown that Vaughn Alexander was able to survive. That's a beautiful left hook to the body.
Just goes to show you how effective body shots. It was just an arm shot. He didn't even do much with it. Short left hook, but it hit the right spot.
And look, after that, he didn't actually go down quickly. He could have kept punching him, but he didn't.
All right, looks like we are ready to make this one official. Let's send it back up to our MC, Mr. Joe Martinez. Exciting in victory as he has been in his heartbreak